It's Chris from LaserLemming.com, and Assassin's Creed Unity is coming out for the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC. And the new word of the day is that the PS4 version is being held back in order to create parity with the Xbox One version. And this is pretty much directly from the horse's mouth. Ubisoft said that they made the PlayStation 4 version at 900p resolution and 30 frames per second in order to avoid all those debates and stuff. So what they're pretty much saying is that we know people on the internet are looking at this. We know that they're counting the pixel lines, and they want to know if the PlayStation 4 version is going to be the superior version of the game. Obviously, the PC version is going to trump both versions graphically, but console-wise, PlayStation 4 versions of multi-platform games have typically performed better. This is not going to be the case with Assassin's Creed Unity. And Ubisoft has backtracked quite a bit since this has all happened within the last day or so. They said that, you know what, it's really all about CPU restrictions, and just the tech isn't, it's a bottleneck, and we can't do exactly what we want to be doing. So, if we want, they said, here's what they said. They said, if it was just up to the graphics, we can get this game running at 100 frames per second. But it's the AI that's causing all the CPU power to be allocated this, there, and whatever. So that's the reason the game is at 30 frames per second, 900p. However, why is it the same for the PlayStation 4 if the PlayStation 4 is more powerful? Assassin's Creed Black Flag came out for the PlayStation 4, and Ubisoft initially released it with parity to the Xbox One version, but there was some outcry, and Ubisoft quickly released a patch on day one, I believe, that updated the PS4 version to 1080p. So they could do it. They could totally do it, I'm sure, but they're not going to, oddly enough. They're going to make sure that these games are on the level. And why is that? Well, Microsoft has a parity clause in their third-party developer contracts that requires there to be parity for any game that's released on the Xbox One. Needs to be as good or better graphically than the main competitors, i.e. the PlayStation 4. And so far, Microsoft has had a hard time enforcing that rule because the Xbox One is not as powerful as the PlayStation 4, and many developers have griped about this. So, in order to make sure that these games are still coming to the Xbox One, Microsoft has had to have some slack with this rule. They haven't been enforcing it. As you can see with every Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, any EA game, whatever, it hasn't been the same. It hasn't been running the same. And they needed the games, and so they haven't been pushing it. Now, granted, they've been trying to make sure that the Xbox One can put out 1080p. If you listen to some of these developer interviews, like with the Diablo 3 guys, they said that Microsoft, initially Diablo 3 was running at like 900p on the Xbox One, and Microsoft said that wasn't good enough, and they gave them some extra tools and hints and tips on how to make this game 1080p. And they did. And they did. So, why is Assassin's Creed Unity coming out at 900p on both consoles? Well, this is just out of my ass a little bit, but here's what I think. I think that the game could not run at 1080p 30 frames per second on the Xbox One, clearly, because it's not. And it possibly could on the PlayStation 4, probably could, considering, you know, Assassin's Creed Black Flag did. But since it couldn't on the Xbox One, and this little fact here that Microsoft has a marketing deal with Ubisoft this year to advertise the game on the Xbox One, Ubisoft decided to go ahead and make sure that they avoid all these debates and stuff by just making the game even keel. And that probably makes development a little bit easier, especially on the PlayStation 4, because they don't have to worry about messing around with the graphics too much, because they could probably get it at a rock-solid 30 frames per second at 900p on the PlayStation 4. Probably could. And Xbox One obviously couldn't. So I think it has a little bit to do with everything. Ubisoft playing ball with Microsoft. I don't know if the marketing deal has anything to do with it or not, but trying to be in good standing with them and not not getting drug into a battle that they have no interest in, i.e. a resolution battle, because what's 900p compared to 1080p? It's not a huge difference. It's not a huge difference, but gamers on the internet will throw a shit fit, and they will. They do every single year. So I think it's a little bit of everything, and it just so happens that PlayStation 4 users are suffering because of it. Suffering. It's a loose word, but I think that it was definitely the case that the PlayStation 4 version was brought down because of the Xbox One version. Now, granted, this is not something you'd see with Nintendo hardware. Ubisoft and EA and every other third-party company doesn't seem to have any problem making sure that the Wii U version of a game is torn down in order for the superior... I'm rambling here, but the better hardware always gets the better game when it comes to Nintendo hardware. But I digress. That's for another day. So I think this is interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Do you think that the Xbox One is going to continue to hurt PlayStation 4 games? I mean, better hardware should have better graphics, right? Especially when it comes to third-party games, like why not use that power? And if this parity clause is really causing major third-party developers to backtrack and lower the resolution and possibly frame rate of their games on competing platforms, I think that's toxic. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section below. Subscribe for more if you haven't already. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.